Tonight's quiet lesson is about daily life in ancient Rome, its streets, homes, baths, markets, meals, and the ordinary routines that made the empire feel human. So sit back, get comfortable, and let the day grow slower. You can imagine the lamps, the stone streets, and the soft evening air as we begin. Tonight, we're going to spend a quiet day in ancient Rome, not with emperors, armies, or marble speeches, but with ordinary people moving through ordinary hours. We will begin before sunrise, when the city is still cool, and follow the day through streets, homes, markets, baths, and evening lamps. Rome was one of the largest cities of the ancient world. At its height, it may have held around 1 million people, though estimates vary. It was crowded, noisy, layered, and complicated. Senators and merchants lived alongside labourers, enslaved people, freedmen, immigrants, soldiers, craftspeople, teachers, and street sellers. The empire was vast, but the city itself was intimate, full of smells, voices, footsteps, and stone. A Roman morning began early. In many homes, daylight was valuable, and work started soon after dawn. Wealthy houses, called domus, might have an atrium, a central reception space open to the sky, with a basin to catch rainwater. Poorer residents often lived in apartment buildings called insulae. These could be cramped, dark, and vulnerable to fire or collapse. Breakfast was usually simple: bread, olives, cheese, fruit, or leftovers might begin the day. Many people did not have large private kitchens, so prepared food from street stalls was common. Archaeologists at Pompeii have found thermopolia, food counters, with built-in jars where people could buy hot food and drink. Clothing also marked the rhythms of Roman life. Many men wore tunics for everyday activity. The toga, often associated with Rome, was formal, heavy, and not especially convenient. It was a garment of citizenship and public identity. Women commonly wore a tunic, and for married women of certain status, a stola. Fabric, colour, and decoration could signal class, role, and wealth. The Roman street was a social world. Carts, animals, vendors, clients, officials, and workers all shared the city. In the morning, a client might visit a patron in a ritual called the salutatio, offering respect and receiving support, favours, or invitations. Roman society was built from networks of obligation. Work varied enormously. There were bakers, barbers, fullers, who cleaned cloth, potters, metalworkers, teachers, scribes, doctors, actors, builders, sailors, and shopkeepers. Enslaved labour was deeply woven into the Roman economy, from household service to mines, farms, workshops, and administration. To describe daily life honestly, we have to remember that comfort for some often depended on the forced labour of others. Education depended on status and family resources. Some children learned reading, writing, and arithmetic from a literator. More advanced students studied grammar, literature, and rhetoric. Rhetoric, the art of persuasive speaking, mattered greatly in public life. A polished voice could shape law, politics, and reputation. At midday, the pace might shift. The main meal for many was later in the day, but people could pause for bread, fruit, or something bought outside. Public fountains supplied water. Aqueducts carried water into the city, feeding baths, fountains, and some private homes. The engineering was practical and impressive, but unevenly experienced. Not everyone enjoyed the same access or comfort. The baths were one of Rome's most distinctive institutions. Public bath complexes were places to wash, exercise, talk, relax, and be seen. A visitor might move through warm, hot, and cold rooms, the tepidarium, caldarium, and frigidarium. There could be courtyards, changing rooms, libraries, gardens, and spaces for conversation. The baths were not silent, but for us, imagining them after hours, they become a soft echo of water and stone. Roman entertainment ranged from theatre and poetry readings to chariot races and gladiatorial games. Some entertainments were violent, and modern viewers should not romanticize them, but entertainment also included dinner parties, music, storytelling, dice games, and public festivals. The Roman calendar was full of religious and civic occasions. Religion was woven into daily life. Households might honour the Lares, protective spirits connected with the home and family. Public religion involved rituals, sacrifices, temples, and festivals. Rome was not a world of one uniform belief. As the empire expanded, gods, cults, and traditions travelled. Isis, Mithras, Cybele, Jupiter, Venus, local deities, and eventually Christianity all formed part of the religious landscape. Even in Brotacina, the main meal for those who could afford it, wealthy dining could be elaborate, with couches, courses, conversation, and display. Simpler households ate simpler meals. Lentils, vegetables, bread, olive oil, fish sauce, cheese, and wine diluted with water were common parts of the diet. As night settled, the city changed. Streets could be dangerous after dark. Lamps were small, shadows deep, and many people stayed close to home. In an upper apartment, someone might hear neighbours through thin walls. In a courtyard, a lamp might flicker beside a household shrine. Somewhere, a baker prepared for morning. Ancient Rome often reaches us through monuments and emperors, but daily life was made of smaller things. A cup, a sandal, a doorway, a market cry, a school tablet, a bath token, a loaf of bread. These ordinary traces remind us that history is not only made by those whose names survive, it is also made by people who woke, worked, worried, ate, laughed, prayed, and slept. So tonight, let Rome grow quiet. The forum empties. The last colour leaves the marble. Water moves through hidden channels. An oil lamp glows beside a wall, painted red. The empire is vast, but this room is small and the day is done. Before the lamp goes out, we can notice a few more details of Roman daily life. One is the sound of the city. Ancient Rome did not have engines, but it was far from silent. There were iron-rimmed wheels on stone, animals calling, vendors advertising food, builders striking tools, fountains running, and people speaking many languages. Latin was the language of law and power in the city, but Greek was also widely used, especially among educated people and in the eastern parts of the empire. Other languages arrived with merchants, soldiers, enslaved people, and travellers. Smell was another part of the Roman world. Bakeries, smoke, olive oil, fish sauce, animals, damp stone, perfume, incense, and crowded housing all mixed together. Wealthy Romans might enjoy gardens with shaded walkways, fountains, and carefully arranged plants. In smaller rooms and upper apartments, air and light could be limited. The city offered opportunity, but not equal comfort. Roman homes reveal much about status. In a wealthy domus, the atrium was a place where public and private life met. Clients could wait there in the morning. Family portraits or ancestral images might display memory and rank. Farther inside, there might be a peristyle garden, painted dining rooms, mosaic floors, and walls decorated with landscapes or mythological scenes. The These images made a home feel larger than its walls. In an insula, life was different. Renters might climb several flights of stairs to rooms that were hot in summer, cold in winter, and vulnerable to fire. Cooking indoors could be dangerous. Water had to be carried. Privacy was limited. Yet these buildings were home to much of the city population, and their windows, balconies, and stairways formed a vertical neighbourhood. Food can also make the past feel close. Roman meals varied by class and region, but common ingredients included grains, beans, lentils, cabbage, onions, garlic, eggs, cheese, olives, figs, grapes, and fish. Garum, a fermented fish sauce, was used as a seasoning. Wine was usually mixed with water. Honey sweetened foods before refined sugar became common in Europe. A Roman table might be simple or extravagant, but it was always part of social life. The empire's reach brought goods from far away: pepper from India, silk from China through long trade routes, glassware, marble, spices, wine, olive oil, and grain moved across land and sea. Rome depended heavily on grain shipments, especially from Egypt and North Africa. Feeding the city was a massive logistical task. Time in Rome was measured differently from ours. The daylight hours were divided into 12 parts, so an hour was longer in summer and shorter in winter. Public sundials and water clocks helped structure official life, but many people lived by practical rhythms: dawn, market, work, meal, bath, sunset. And then there were the roads. Roman roads connected towns, forts, ports, and provinces. They helped move armies, messages, officials, and trade. But for ordinary travellers, roads were also places of dust, inns, milestones, shrines, and uncertainty. To move through the empire was to pass through a world held together by stone, law, language, and habit. When we soften the grand image of Rome, we do not make it smaller, we make it more human. The empire was made not only of conquest and politics, but of hands kneading dough, students scratching wax tablets, bathers leaving footprints on wet stone, and families closing shutters at night. So now, once more, let the city rest. A fountain continues in the dark. A final cart turns down a side street. Somewhere above the street, in a small room, someone folds a tunic for mourning. History becomes quiet enough to hear. And if we gather the day into one final thought, ancient Rome was not only an empire of power, it was an empire of routines. Its streets carried ambition, trade, religion, hunger, status, gossip, and work. Its buildings held both luxury and hardship. Its baths, fountains, roads, and markets made daily life possible, but not equal for everyone. To study Rome softly is to remember that marble monuments were surrounded by ordinary footsteps. A city becomes real when we can imagine the small human gestures. Inside it, buying bread, lighting a lamp, greeting a patron, washing dust from the skin, or listening as the evening settles over stone. There is one more gentle way to picture Rome, through the objects left behind. A wax tablet with scratches from a lesson, a bronze key once held in a hand, a clay lamp blackened by use, a wall painting of a garden, made for a room that did not have one, a pair of dice, a shop sign, a child's toy. These objects are small, but they bring the city closer than triumphal arches sometimes can. They also remind us that Roman history was not the same for everyone. A senator, a baker, an enslaved household worker, a soldier at a frontier fort, a woman managing a shop, and a child in an apartment all lived inside the Roman world differently. The empire connected them, but it did not make their lives equal. So when the word Rome feels too large, let it become small again. Let it become a room, a street, a bowl, a fountain, a line of laundry, a table with bread. Let the ancient city become human-sized, and it becomes easier to understand. One last part of daily Rome is worth noticing: the systems that made the city possible. A person walking to a fountain might not think about engineering, but the water had travelled through aqueducts, channels, settling tanks, pipes, and public distribution points. A bathhouse depended on water, fuel, labour, heating systems, drainage, and maintenance. The comfort of warm rooms and running fountains came from hidden work. Roman builders used arches, vaults, concrete, brick, stone, and careful surveying to create structures that could carry weight and last for generations. Roads were planned with layers of material, drainage, and milestones. Harbours moved goods. Warehouses stored grain. Sewers carried away waste. None of these systems made Rome clean or easy by modern standards, but they show how much organisation stood behind ordinary routines. Law was another invisible structure. Contracts, citizenship, inheritance, marriage, property, manumission, and public office all depended on legal categories. Roman law changed over time, and it was not equally fair to all people, but it shaped how people imagined rights, status, family, and obligation. A quiet day in Rome contains more than personal habit. Every loaf of bread, every bath, every market stall, and every household shrine sits inside a larger structure of empire. Grain from across the sea, stone from quarries, taxes from provinces, labour from free and enslaved people, and decisions made by officials all flowed into the experience of the city. So, as the final lamp burns low, we can hold two images together: Rome as a vast machine of roads, water, law, trade, and power, and Rome as a human evening: tired feet, warm bread, a closed shutter, a whispered prayer, a fountain continuing after everyone has gone indoors. The truth of the city lives somewhere between those two images. And now, for one last quiet walk, imagine leaving the centre of Rome by a road lined with tombs. The city falls behind you slowly. The stones beneath your feet have been worn by carts and sandals. A milestone marks distance. A small shrine stands at a crossroads. In the fields beyond, the empire feels less like marble and more like weather, soil, and work. This too was Rome, not only the capital, but the network. Villas, farms, ports, forts, mining towns, provincial cities, and border settlements all belonged to the larger Roman world. Ideas and goods moved through it, but so did disease, taxes, orders, letters, rumours, and hope. The empire was not a single experience, it was a vast set of connected lives. So when we close this whispered day, we close it gently. The road darkens, the city lamps grow smaller behind us. Somewhere, water still runs through channels built by hands long gone. Somewhere, a line from a wax tablet has survived. The past has not vanished completely. It has only become quiet enough to study. I want to thank you for listening to Whisper University. If you made it all the way to the end, I'm very glad you are here. I hope tonight's quiet lesson helped you relax, learn something new, or simply drift for a little while in a calmer direction. If you enjoyed this whispered lecture, you can support Whisper University by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, or leaving a gentle comment with a topic you would like to hear next. It helps this little university grow and helps us keep making the world a little more relaxed and a little more curious through ASMR. Until the next quiet lesson, take care, breathe slowly, and rest well.